Thank you for your patience. We're going to go ahead and get started. We're excited you're all able to join us. The webinar today will focus on migrating off legacy test management tools, such as HPQC. Please mute your microphones and submit your questions via the chat functionality. Any questions we are unable to get will be answered via email. Today's speakers include myself, Carla Bertoldi-Hartman. I oversee customer success at the testing consultancy. As a consultancy, we believe it is our duty to inform the marketplace of the latest and greatest software solutions in digital enablement and QA. It has been my pleasure partnering with our consultant, Kayla Hildenbrandt, and the QA Symphony team to share qTest. Our next presenter after myself is Kayla Hildenbrandt. She is a consultant who has experience using many test management tools, and she has recently worked with QA Symphony qTest and undergone training so she can help gauge if she would recommend as a subject matter expert if your company should migrate to qTest from legacy tools. And lastly, we have Ryan Yackel, who is the Director of Product at QA Symphony and a thought leader in the testing and DevOps marketplace. He is truly passionate about sharing qTest and showing our audience today how to migrate off legacy systems. The Testing Consultancy is a global organization with over 300 consultants. We currently work with many C2C and B2B retailers and some of the most reputable Global 2000 companies to help them enhance their software deployment operations. GTC believes in leading digital transformation, and business efficiency and the delivery of high-quality technology relies on three main components: capable people, robust processes, and the best technology. We know that having all the right pieces of the puzzle on the board at the same time can have significant benefits for business efficiency and delivery. We also know this often isn't simple, which is why we're here to partner with QA Symphony and you on your digital transformation journey. We will work with you to find the right mix of people, processes, and technology for your organization, and we bring our knowledge and expertise to ensure that the outcome is game-changing. At TTC, as I stated before, we like to ensure quality with end-to-end test management. We've partnered with QA Symphony, and we want to help educate the market on the qTest test management tool. So next, I'll hand it off to Kayla, our subject matter expert in test management tools.
At TTC, we are a team of consultants with a wide range of experience in various methodologies, environments, and technologies. Because of that experience, a few of the things that we can help with in regards to qTest, including the test case migration itself, which we will be discussing today. We can also assist with review and assistance with test case best practice, and also aid in your manual and automated test case efforts. So going a little bit more into the recommendations and who might be a good fit for qTest. So as Carla mentioned, at TTC, we ensure quality with end-to-end test management. We've partnered with QA Symphony, and we really believe that their set of tools is an excellent solution for test case management. Because of that, we want to help educate the market on QA Symphony's qTest tool and other components available as part of that suite. So if you're currently in the market for a solution to assist with your test case management, you should consider looking at qTest if you're currently in the process of making that move from waterfall to agile or DevOps. If you're currently using Jira and need a greater ability to scale, or if you're looking to replace legacy systems, or if you're looking to implement a tool and move off of Excel. So with all of that said, I'd like to hand off the presentation to Ryan Yackel and so that he's able to dive into the core of today's webinar, migration of legacy systems into qTest.
Great, thanks everybody for having me today. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here. Bear with me just 1 second. All righty, so again, thank you so much for having me. Again, as they all mentioned today, Kayla and Carla, I am Ryan Yackel. I'm one of the directors of product over at QA Symphony. But before I get going here, one of the big things that as you know, through GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar, it's kind of hard to connect with the people across from the room. So especially when you don't see that person. So just some real quick, how can you kind of get more of a connection to me? So before I came to QA Symphony, I was actually at CGI Group and then also at Macy's Systems and Technology, and I was a tester there at both those areas. So I'm very well embedded with understanding automation tools, test management tools. I actually was a UFT junior automator in the past and also kind of an administrator for HP Quality Center. So from a legacy perspective, I really don't understand how the testing has really come together. And also just real quick, I mean, I have hobbies just like you all, really into coffee, love all things Superman. And this is a little portrait of my wife and my two daughters were Bob's Burgers for Halloween last Halloween, and so we're gonna actually move it up a little bit and get into the whole Peter Pan character set later this year. So hopefully, if you have any more webinars of me, I'll be able to show those pictures later on. Okay, so here's the deal. So we got a lot to cover today, and what I want to be able to do is have you kind of a mapped out agenda what I want to talk about, but then also give you some key takeaways. So what I want to do is really talk about what's going on in the market as it relates to really legacy disruption, and specifically around HP Quality Center and the thing that happened with Micro Focus. I want to talk about some migration processes and really give you some customer stories of how we've been able to help people move off of HP Quality Center and ALM and really just show why they're doing that. I'm going to give a brief demo of qTest products. Obviously, we have a good product before you actually consider doing that. And then we'll do some Q&A. And the key takeaways here is, one is that with QA Symphony and TTC, I mean, one of the big things is, we are providing you the best migration practices available out there when it comes to migration. We're experts in HP migration. We've done over hundreds of these migrations across the enterprise, and we'll give you some examples as we go along. And again, we'll provide end-to-end solutions as you're moving over into DevOps. So that's just a quick example of just, hey, here's the agenda, here's your key takeaways. If you need to leave, you trust us on the right side. We got you covered in all those three areas. So real quick, when we go and talk about change, I love this Jack Welch quote, right? Change before you have to. And what's happened now is change is actually already here. And if you haven't changed or you're thinking about changing, as digital transformation kind of takes over, tooling is also one of those big things that happens. And when Micro Focus did this spin merge, or HPE did the spin merge with Micro Focus, what they did was they had a lot of products over in HPE that Micro Focus kind of took over, but the main one was really around Mercury. And everyone that understands HPE and kind of the evolution from Test Director and Mercury all the way to HPE Quality Center, you'll know that they've consumed all of those products. So HPE Quality Center, ALM, Octane is a new product they were coming out with, UFT, all those, StormRunner, those are all part of that Mercury suite that came from that particular area. And when this came out, what happened was, for those that are really big into Gartner or big into Forrester, they actually recommended looking at options to move away from ADM, their ADM software. So you have Gartner, this huge analyst firm, basically telling you, hey, we don't know what's going to happen, but back in 2016 when this was going on, they were basically encouraging people, you need to start looking and making sure that this is going to be a benefit for you in the long run, right? And if you look at kind of what happened, Micro Focus actually came out and said some things, and this is actually on their website, so you can actually go and look at this. But the main takeaway from this was really kind of what we're going to do is we're going to have our investors first, and we're going to have our customers second. And if you look at kind of the different stages they looked at, none of that really involved, we're going to have this great new test management solution come out. We're going to really expand our quality center campaign. We're going to add all this new functionality to UFT. We're going to integrate to all these great agile and DevOps tools. None of that was there. What it really was rationalizing, stabilizing, and then we're going to figure out what we're going to do. And in the midst of that, that was what they came out with after the spin merge complete. And then what also happened was you had other things going on with Micro Focus, which was their stock price really crash after the CEO resigned. You find out the strategic plan was really just a way to milk maintenance costs. And really, when it came into where people were interviewed for, there really was didn't really have a great plan to really add to their great staff of hiring all these great people. So although it looked like, okay, yeah, maybe we're going to go to Micro Focus, what really happens is a lot of times when this happens is that a takeaway really becomes something that, one, really fit into the fears of a lot of quality center customers, which was they're not really going to be enhancing Mercury a whole lot, the Mercury products. They're really going to focus on the bottom line and get to cost cutting, and then the R&D is really going to be cut back. So for us, what that was, we really deserve you done better. And we've been migrating people off HE Quality Center years before even the spin merge even happened. I've been with QA Symphony for since 2014, and the spin merge started to happen back in 2016. It's now 2018. So I've been here for 4 years, and we've really had the ability to do that. And for us, and why I'm still at the company after 4 years, the big thing is we're really getting in, disrupting the test solution market. Most recently, what we've done is we actually merged with another great company called Tricentis, and really what that's able to do is combine over $205 million that was invested in both companies to really give continuous testing to the enterprise. We've increased our R&D. If you look at from 2018, you know, R&D has increased been over about 80% since 2016. That's been able to us develop products I'll show you later today, like qTest Launch for automation scheduling, qTest Scenario for BD transformation, and also getting into qTest Insights for predictive analytics. And then, of course, we've had this extreme growth. So I say all that not to say, hey, look how awesome we are. It's really to say, you know, there's a methodology or a strategy that one company is doing that's very vastly different than a strategy that you'll see from QA Symphony. And really what's going on, and if I take a step back and go, okay, well, what are the market trends that have kind of pushed it this way? If you look at some of the markets that are going on, everyone talks about digital transformation. It really encompasses these two areas. One is, right, this innovation aspect and this time to market aspect. So the innovation aspect is basically, hey, we are on these legacy systems that we have, not just tools, but legacy systems in general. We need to modernize these systems. We need to innovate to stay ahead of competition. And oh, by the way, we need to get this out into the market faster, right? And what's happened is what we've done is we've taken all this great innovation and we said, okay, we're going to adopt things like Agile, and we're going to go do things like DevOps, and we're going to do practice test-driven development, all these great things. But what was happening was, to get to the time to market area, there was still this area where testing was kind of lagging, and the tooling perspective really was lagging. If you look at the explosion of new tools that's gone on kind of in the software development lifecycle, and this is just back in 2017, what you see is in the testing space, there's a lot of different frameworks, a lot of tools that are out there, but the majority is a lot of these tools are maybe only geared towards SMB markets or geared towards small, medium companies. And what you have is still those legacy providers like Quality Center, IBM, and so on. They're still around, but what they're doing is they're also being replaced by a lot of open source technology. And if you look from all the way from the planning to monitoring aspect, you're probably using a lot of these different tools that are a part of your ecosystem. So if you look at, for example, Jenkins, you're using Bamboo, you're doing all these different types of things, right? There's all these different areas and tools that encompass your DevOps toolchain. And in the test automation market landscape, you're also seeing this. What you're seeing is that this is actually a test automation webinar that we did, and what we did was really take a look at all the different open source tools and commercial tools that are out there. And what you see is that you've got a lot of tools, like open source tools out there, and what you've got is a lot of commercial tools as well. So a lot of you on the call, you may be looking at going, yeah, we use UFT, we may be using some of it with Selenium. All in all, what you're having is these tools that you're trying to figure out what's the best test automation framework or tool to help me test the applications I have. And then you look at, okay, well, what about the tools that people are actually recommending? What's interesting is if you look at a lot of the modern tools we just talked about, QC testers are usually siloed from these tools. This is a State of Agile report that came out from version 1 back, I think it was this year, and it's the 12 State of Agile report. They've got lots of these out there. Definitely highly encourage you to go take a look at that. We integrate to version 1 as well, along with Jira software. But if you look at kind of the use of Agile test management tools, and you correspond them with what they actually recommend, all the HP products, which are now Micro Focus products, those are usually the last ones that people would recommend when it comes to an Agile transformation or a DevOps transformation. And what that really is telling you is that HP was really good for waterfall teams. Waterfall was, of course, around for a really long time. It's still used in organizations. You can still use it today. But as people are moving more and more to Agile, they're looking at things like version 1, Atlassian's, Jira, CA Agile Central, all these different types of tools out there that are more geared to that Agile workflow. So why are people doing this? Well, the reason why they're doing this is because they're realizing that if as long as we stick with modern or don't stick with modern tools and are keep embracing these legacy tools, we're not going to have the type of time to market that we're going to get when it comes to that. So all in all, when we look at kind of why we believe at QA Symphony and why we believe, again, when we talk to our customers, there's really 4 areas that why we believe QC is not really built for Agile and DevOps, right? One of those things is there is no real-time integration with Jira, and this is a huge thing. They have a thing called a schedule synchronization. I'll show you the integration off today in our demo, but they do really have no real-time integration with Jira, which creates a lot of miscollaboration, and it creates a lot of disconnect between your development product and your test team. They do not have a flexible ecosystem when it comes to open source support. I'll show you our product qTest launch, which enables you to scale all your best of breed solutions for automation up into an enterprise reporting. The other part I talked a little about this as well is just the best in class reporting. Although QC does a great job of being able to report a lot of this data, you've got to be able to go in, know SQL, know VBA, and I used to do this back when I was at Macy's, and actually pull all these reports together. It's not really accessible. And the last thing is, again, it's just not built for testing in agile environments. The workflows are more waterfall and more focused. And when we look at kind of the way these kind of stacks up between, usually we have this in really 3 different areas, but when we look at Micro Focus and qTest specifically, all of these are enterprise ready. Like, we're not saying QC is not enterprise. I definitely think it is. Of course, like, we used it at Macy's, I used it at CGI, and so on. I mean, it is an enterprise ready solution. However, when it comes to usability, when it comes to integration with Jira software, it sufficiently is not built for those agile and DevOps workflows. And when you get into other things like flexible automation support, and then being able to tie into DevOps pipelines, to be able to support different types of integrations with Jenkins pipeline, Bamboo integration as well, it really falls short in that particular category. So I say all that as a primer before we get into, okay, well, that's great, Ryan. You told me about what happened to Micro Focus, what happened to HP, why I should care about it. You told me about what are the tool trends that are going on in midst of this digital transformation, and now we're getting into what are my options to actually replace and go through and do this. So the reason why a lot of people have a hard time with figuring out what to do with a migration, and this is where QA Symphony and TDC will help you out with this, is really there's all these different areas that really encompass and tie into the challenge of the migration. So things like, do I do a live migration or do a one-time migration? Should I do this in phases? Is migration going to scale? All the different artifacts that I have, if I've got hundreds of thousands of test cases over in an HP quality center, how can I migrate the ones I really want over into a new system? Am I going to be able to support all the traceability as well? A lot of you all are in very complex environments where you need that auditability. You need to be able to have visibility into all our previous test executions you've done. You need to be able to have that traceability, and then just the different types of deployments. So a lot of our customers, we have support for on-premise and cloud. A lot of ours, they say, you know what, well, this gives us an opportunity to figure out, are we going to stick with an on-premise solution, or can we go to the cloud? Because previously, QC was never available in the cloud until recently, and they're on, HP version 8. They're on, or not 8, but rather 10 or 11.5. Some of those older versions, they're only really server related. So the migration options that you really have, and these are like the 4 areas we had kind of set up, right? We're going to focus on the top right corner there, which is our migration tool, and talk a little bit about what happens with that. We've got a lot more detail on this that we'll be able to send out to you. We have a whole ebook that kind of walks you through all of this. We have very detailed comparisons of what artifacts get transferred over that we'll show you a little bit today, and we'll follow up with if you like more information about that. But the one thing is you could start fresh, which is a lot of people like to do that. They say, you know what, we're going to throw away everything we've done. We're not really in this highly regulated environment. We can save our QCP files locally. We can stop paying maintenance, and we can just have that as a record if we need to. We're going to start fresh. You can also do an Excel import, but that really doesn't solve the traceability issue, right? A lot of tools out there, they have an Excel import. You can import that data, then you're going to manually map all the parts together. You can also do this custom integration, which I'll show you in a comparison how this looks in a minute. But you do this custom integration where you're going to go out, hire an extremely expensive data integrator to come in and do all this data manually for you, or automatically through a proprietary solution, which is, again, it's probably the most sufficient way to get it done. But it's going to be the most costly. It's going to be the most kind of strenuous on the wallet there. And then you can look at a solution with us, which is more of our migration tool that we have, which I said we've been doing ever since I've been here at QA Symphony. And just to give you a look at the different timetables, how it looks, right? Again, you're not going to get hardly anything when it comes to Excel import and starting fresh, right? That's kind of a given, right? The other thing is that when we come to the migration tool, there are a little bit of limitations. For example, a live migration, meaning that you're going to have to at least have a cutoff date for QC to actually pull the data over. It's not usually a problem with people, because what they have is they'll just have a deadline that they'll set to and kind of say, okay, we're done with our sprint. We've got another sprint kind of coming up. Well, we can hold off on and migrate project by project in the meantime, and we can start using, we can keep using qTest for our newer projects. So there's a quick look at just kind of the different areas that kind of breaks down into. Again, being a custom solution is going to be a lot more expensive than what we have here. But I'm going to show you some stories about how that's really panned out for our customers. So one is the mapping, and this is a core differentiation for us. So when you look at kind of how all the artifacts map over into qTest, they'll map very nicely over into the articles that are on the right side. So we've got things that, for example, there's some differences called the test plan in QA and Micro Focus's QC. Ours is called test design. The test lab is actually called test execution, right? Test runs are called test run logs. So that's all really the same, right? It's just different little nomenclature when it comes to kind of how to say things, but they map directly over into the most valuable artifacts that you have. One of the big things that we do that a lot of customers do not do, or a lot of vendors don't do, is that we will also pull over all the test execution history of your data inside the test lab. One of the things people like to say is, well, we can migrate your test cases and requirements and link those together, but test run history we can't pull over. We can actually do that. We can do a project by project migration. So again, you can say, you don't have to say, okay, I want a big bang approach and just pull all this over. You can designate which projects you want to pull over and assign them to say, hey, these are my more waterfall projects, these are more agile projects, and I can decide which ones I want to pull over. And then we also pull over all the users as well. And we can tie those into an Active Directory that you have and make sure the users don't lose sight of which projects are associated with which. So there's a lot of things that are just some of the core areas that our migration works. And then we also have a differentiator when it comes to the links and traceability between those. So we're going to be able to pull over, the releases to the release milestone, any release to requirement types. If you have test cases linked to requirements, defects linked to test run steps, defects linked to test runs in general, all of that is going to be pulled over and linked automatically in our system. So there is no manual effort you have to do when it comes to linking and traceability. We do that for you through the migration. And just to give you an understanding, you may be thinking, okay, Ryan, yeah, that's great, but I may have all different types of artifacts and so on. I just want to give you just a look at some of the recent migrations we've done this year by the numbers. So a very extremely large company that you would all kind of know right away if I were to show their logo, if I was able to. We had around 450,000 total artifacts, and the way theirs were spread out was between 4 projects and 125,000 test cases we migrated. Another one in the financial services industry, again, just take a look at the numbers here. They only had 47,000 artifacts, but they're broken up into 78 projects and 6,000 test cases. So again, a little bit of a different thing there when it comes to where the artifacts are coming from. This also, I'm not showing the requirements and test runs and so on. And then also a huge home retail improvement company here in the US. They had around 82,000 total artifacts, and they only had 2 projects that span around 40K in test cases. We've had projects that have gone up to 300, 400,000 test cases if they decide to do that. Quick look at kind of a profile. When I say, big thing is when it comes to being able to kind of tie into what are the goals of that particular customer. This is a Fortune 500 transformation we did for one of these technology companies recently. They signed a 3-year agreement back in 2017, and one of the big reasons why they wanted to move, again, I mean, I'm not making this up. This is really the stuff they told us. Was lack of support for AVOps and DevOps transformation. HP had told them they had one of the largest instances they've ever seen on premise and for this particular customer. There was no integration or visibility into Jira. Everyone was going there. Everyone was using that, and they needed to have their test results back over into their area, their product managers and their developers. And then, of course, the acquisition by Micro Focus really had no clear direction of the HP product. So big things that we did, again, reasons why we actually won the business. A key area, I'm not going to go into all of them, but very two key areas were, one was the robust APIs we have to really tie into all their test automation frameworks that are a part of this particular customer. And the next one was just being able to support the millions of test artifacts and test execution. So again, if you go online, you can look and see, this customer I can actually name is Dolby Labs. If you look at the hundreds of thousands of test runs that they need to test and verify for some of their hardware and software applications, that's another reason why they actually chose our software as well, was because they wanted something that could scale and be enterprise. So again, not saying QC is an enterprise, but when you move from enterprise to enterprise, you need to have a solution that can scale for this amount of artifacts. So one last thing that I'll get into before I actually show a quick demo of some of the products was ABC Supply. This was a customer that came and actually spoke at our user conference, and big thing was they were moving from QC to qTest and to Jira. And a quick overview of ABC Supply. This is Brad Belmore. You can actually go on our website and see him give this presentation. He was very kind of us to come here, but again, one of the big things at ABC Supply was they got 700 branches worldwide, and they're one of the largest wholesale distributors of roofing in the United States, multi-billion-dollar company. And what they had was a problem like this, which was everyone on their product and development team was having a great time using Jira, and they were stuck in HP Quality Center that really didn't integrate directly to Jira for full traceability. And they also had all these different systems that were going on at the same time. Some were waterfall and some were agile projects that were going on, but all these different systems of record tying in with a lot of their cloud architecture that are around systems of engagement. So they're really looking at how can we tie in our ERP with our legacy systems, with our finance systems, and then have all that tie into a great user experience for the e-commerce site that they had for their retail branch. So again, they had a lot of complex systems that were kind of in place. This is a very simple diagram that I drew. We had the original diagram in here, but he said there's a lot of IP, so we had to pull that out. But yeah, a lot of different complex systems of that were really kind of in that area. So the problem was, and again, this is maybe you've got your HP contracts are done. You're currently in a lot of manual processes, and what's going to happen is you're moving more and more to Agile. So really trying to find a path for you to get into to really go and adopt a new solution. So what they decided after they had multiple POCs with their solutions was, here's what we're going to do. We're going to move to qTest. We're going to tie into Jira for full traceability. Big reason why they came over here was it was easy to learn, and they could pull over their initial repository to get them going, in particular testing. And they could also store any recorded test session from an exploratory fashion directly in our tool. So when it came to implementation, they went through these different areas. And this is where I think you all in TTC will help you out with, is figuring out exactly how to go about doing this. They had an on-prem version of Quality Center, and they're figuring out, should we stay on-prem or go to cloud? They eventually had to go on-prem just because of security of their solution. They just didn't want to move to the cloud. They really wanted to, but what's interesting now is they've come back to us and said, hey, our security team has now said that we can have qTest in the cloud. So now we're helping them figure out a way to get to our cloud solution. So they migrated the data from HP Quality Center. That took about, I think it was about 2 to 3 weeks based off of the initial time frame that we had set out for them. They integrated to Jira. They had all the data in one place, and then they refined their defect workflow. This is something that they did inside of Jira because they had a lot of the workflow inside of QC at the time. And then they had the entire company actually switch over into qTest after that, all this integrations happened. So the total of that, really what it came down to was, again, this was relatively a small project. They had only 15,000 test cases. They had about 1,000 defects they wanted to keep, and about 4 projects. So all of that really was able to now enable them to really get started right away in their Agile journey without having a lot of downtime when it came to their particular time frame. So I say all that just to kind of get a point of view of a customer and really show off just how a good customer story actually went. What I'll do now is actually move towards a quick demonstration of just some of the products we have, just give an idea, because honestly, like, if you don't like our products, there's no reason to really migrate, right? So we want to show you that. One of the big things that we failed to mention kind of in the middle is that, you know, I talked about that we had moved to, we had merged with a company called Tricentis recently. Paperwork's almost done, so we haven't officially moved over there. But if you get in a grasp of really kind of what the entire platform is really going to be involved with, I'm going to show the qTest side over here. But really what you have is qTest is your open source testing and agile test management solution. So when it comes to being able to scale your test automation across different frameworks like open source frameworks, supporting BDD, we have you covered there. You really providing a way to go from manual to automate and trace all your Jira issues in one place, and also have predictive analytics that drive all of that. And then the other tools that are part of the solution stack as well is really the automated continuous testing with Tricentis Tosca, you all may be aware of. And then also just distributed load testing with Tricentis Flood. So again, just really showing you the vast products that we have here. As I get into the products, as we get going here, again, be sure to ask questions along the way. And what we'll do is we'll leave about 10 minutes or so for questions. So let me go ahead and get in here. So one of the things you can do is if you go to QAsymphony.com, you'll notice right away that in the top right corner of the products area, you can view the entire platform, or you can view each of the products that I'll go through today. You can view them all in one place. So on the platform side, I'll just go through each of these before I actually show the product. qTest Manager is our direct replacement for HP Quality Center. This is what's going to tie together all of your data together in a modern interface. You can use any browser you want. This could be in the cloud. It could be on premise. And what you can do is really tie in all your data into one spot for agile test management planning. qTest Insights is our BI analytics tool that is really powered by embedded analytics by Logi. And so it really can show and get to data that you couldn't probably get to when you had HPQC. And I'll show some of that data off as we get going. And then we've got our product called qTest Launch that I'll talk about. And this is really getting into how can you scale your test automation strategy across multiple machines, multiple agent types, and really centralize all that in one area. We have two other products I won't get to today. One is qTest Scenario, which is focused on BDD collaboration, and then also is qTest Explorer. And all of these products are part of the same solution. So we don't piecemeal these products and sell them here or there. They're all part of the same solution. And if I go to my instance here, I'll show you exactly how you get access to all of these. So I'm in a cloud instance of qTest. I'll go ahead and log in here. And what you'll notice is in the top right corner, you've got this 9 box, and you've got all these different tabs that are part of the platform. So everything I just mentioned, whether you're doing exploratory testing, whether you're doing test data management with qTest parameters, whether you're doing centralized automation data with qTest Launch, everything's accessible in this 9 box here to get you going, to get to the different products. So it's a really easy way to get going there. This is qTest Manager. You notice it's in the top left corner there. And from planning to requirements integration to designing test cases and executing, this is where you'll actually be housing all of those particular test cases. And one of the big things that I like to talk about was just our integration with Jira being real time. What you'll notice is that if I open up these folders here, you'll see that I'm actually seeing Jira IDs and Jira property values directly in qTest. And so we have a real-time integration with Jira that pulls over those user stories, epics, wherever they are, directly into qTest. And you'll see here they can organize by particular sprint and also status of those user stories. So as I decide to pull them over, they'll automatically change based off whatever filter I have. So we don't schedule any data, any synchronizations of the data. We don't schedule an API pull. It's all done through our webhook. And what you'll notice down below here is all the different test cases that are linked to it. So if I link any automated test cases or manual test cases, exploratory test cases, as I add those there, they'll actually show up directly on that Jira issue. Any direct access to Jira, I can just click on this link here. It'll send me out. I've got one right here. That was one of our user stories. And what you'll notice is that if I scroll down, I've got this test execution area here that actually shows me all the results of my tests aligned back to my Jira user story. So I can actually show all of this in insights later on, as I'll show you here with personal dashboards and how to share dashboards and so on. But this is how you can actually see the data directly inside of Jira, see all the detail, all the test execution logs. And if I wanted to, I can just click on any of these test cases and test runs and actually be sent directly back over into qTest, where I can see the results in the test execution area. So getting back and forth between both Jira and qTest is extremely easy to do. You'll notice that, again, I've got 2 windows here open of qTest. That's particularly fine. I can multitask here and keep going. But if I scroll down here, I can see all the results of the test runs that I have. And also, if I click into any of these test runs, I can see any of the log details as well. So if I had linked a defect to Jira, if I had gone ahead and ran these and it was attached to a particular user story, all that data is logged directly in the test execution history area down below here. What you'll notice is also at the suite level, I've got quick access to any of my defects that I have in Jira. So this bug right here, this bug icon, this was an ID, I believe, yes, RDY30. This is a status that's in to do with Jira, and what I did was I actually created that as I went through a test execution. And if I click on this ID, again, I'm brought back into Jira really fast. This is all in real time. And I can see as well any of the results of that particular test case on that bug. One of the other things we do automatically is that if you linked a Jira user story to a test case and you ran that test case and then you logged the defect of that test case, what we do is we automatically correspond all those back to the user story. So I've got user stories here, and I've got the test run data here. And what this helps the developer do is really go, oh, okay, this is the test run. If this was failed, this is potentially blocking all these Jira user stories. So what I could do is I can click on any of these user stories here, go in, identify kind of what the user story tells me to do, make sure I have the correct user story there. And then if I've got any other linked defects, it will also show up here. So we do the automatic linking and also the automatic data showing of any of the test results on a particular Jira issue. If you wanted to run these manually, you can do that. You can also run them quickly by just selecting this quick run feature. I just want to show you quickly is the options to either run them with the test pad, which I'll pop up here, but also with the Explorer desktop or web version. So I won't go in that today, but this is our screen capturing tool that also spits out Selenium code to generate Selenium scripts later on. This is a way for you to run and actually automatically capture any data and align that back to that. But again, one of the things that I keep talking about when I talk to people that have used QC before, this is not like the manual runner. It's very easy to use, extremely fast. All the data that you're seeing here can be changed and manipulated on an ad hoc basis. You don't have to preload any of the data. You can do this. You can modify it in runtime as you're running through all the results here. Okay, that's a super quick overview of qTest Manager. One other thing is all the different projects you have here. I've got tons of different projects I have for demoing purposes, but I can have all these different projects set up and they can be integrated with different Jira projects as well. So I don't have to tie all my projects to one Jira instance, and I also don't have to tie them to only one project. I can have multiple projects connected into multiple qTest projects. Okay, so let's go to qTest Insights. I'll open up that, and what I'm also going to do is open up qTest Launch. So again, as I open up these applications, they just open up in new windows here for me to interact with. And again, when I talked about qTest Launch was the particular use case you have, and this is where we hear all the time, is that I've got all this automation going on across different servers, different machines. I need to basically organize and figure out what tests are running across all of these particular jobs. Well, what you can do with Launch is it's basically your manager of all those test automation environments and those machines. So if I drill into, for example, this functional automation machine, I can see that I've got 9 agent types, which are automation frameworks. And I've also got 0 job schedules. So if I want to look at if I've got any test jobs that are running, you'll notice is that when I click into that particular machine, it's giving me the schedules of all the automation jobs that are set up either ad hocly or on a schedule that are continually running to make sure this is a valid environment. And you've got here, Brian here, he's scheduled a test run to be executed. You've got the status of those results, and if they're tied into Jira, any of the automated results will go back to Jira as well. And then he's also got a setup on this particular automation host is different agent types. And so again, we can tie into all different types of automation frameworks, both out of the box, whether it's Cucumber for Java, or if you want to tie into JUnit. If you want to create your own agent, you can create your own agent type with a simple pre-execute script and also execute script or execute command. And we've also got examples in here as well that kind of show you how to do that both on the command side and also the pre-execute script side. So we've had customers that really love this. If you have engineering teams that are using homegrown frameworks that you need to basically customize and make sure they can run and result back. This is a great way to create your own agent type to be deployed on those particular servers. So again, it's a great way to do that. The other thing you can do is you can look at, if you're updating this, you can look at the upgraded logs here. You can tag these machines to quickly search by them, but it really does give you a great view of all the different results that are going on across your automation scheduling, whether it's on a Mac machine, if it's on a Windows machine, it's on a VM, whatever it is, you can have all that data here for you to see. And also not go crazy trying to figure out, okay, what automation is running today. The last thing we'll show you today, and again, we've got a lot of different products, and again, this is a super quick overview of this. I want to get to your questions here in a minute, but one of the things that, with Insights is that we really are trying to give you the data you want in a very easy fashion. And so what we have here are quick views of quality, coverage, and velocity. So, but depending on which project that you're selecting here, for this one, it is this Migrating demo. If I wanted to add in, for example, another project here, I'll go ahead and add in, let's go grab my project. Let's grab this one here. I'll go ahead and refresh this. Whenever I'm doing this cross-project reporting, or if I'm doing more portfolio level reporting, the data is going to pull back instantaneously based off of whether it's quality, coverage, or velocity. And so for the quality reports, what you're really looking at is the latest test run results. You're looking at test run results by day. You're looking at defect statuses of all those. All that data is really going to come back, and depending on whichever I select and the options up here, it'll change right away. And then any of these are also you can drill down into these. Again, there's more coverage and velocity reports. The coverage report is pretty cool because what we can do is actually display something in a heat map format. So one of the cool things with heat maps is that you're able to really drill into risky areas of your application rather than kind of guessing at what tests are running, what tests are failing, and so on. So I really love the heat map version. We have it for test run coverage, but you can create your own heat map and based on something like requirement test runs if you wanted to. It just gives you more data down below here. And then the last thing I'll show you is just the dashboard report. So I've got a personal one here. I'll show you this. What I did was I just created a personal dashboard that showed kind of all the different artifacts that are in my Jira sprints. And really wanted to do was show, okay, I've got these tests I need to execute a part of a particular release. I want to be able to show the coverage by the release and also show the defect status as well in those particular releases. So if I go over here, you see that I've got the Jira requirements I'm connected into, the results of all those requirements, and the status of those. Again, I can drill into this and get a data table behind it. And then I've also got the requirement coverage by sprint. So this is good when you're trying to figure out, okay, what requirements have test coverage, what requirements do not, rather than just going, what's the results of those if they have coverage already against them? Because you may have a test case on them, but you may have never actually ran them. And that's just important as you get more and more close to sprint completion. If you look over and you see, oh gosh, you've got 7 requirements that aren't covered in sprint 1, and you're saying that you're going to deploy, in a couple of days, this could be a problem area that you want to address. So you can create all these different reports that you're seeing here. We've got executive charts as well that show automation progress. That's a big thing when it comes to whether you're on the scale from 0% automation to industry standard around 20 to 80 to whatever it is. These executive charts will actually show you how to pull back data and address the progress of your test automation by day, week, month, whatever it is, and kind of show to the executives, hey, this is our status of automation from certain dates, and we're getting closer to being more and more automated. We just want to kind of give you an update on what our progress is like. So we've got time to market graphs as well, but this is a really good graph that we like to point people out to just as they're trying to figure out how can I best deploy an automation strategy, then track the success of that. So with all that said, I'm going to put it back over to the manager screen here, and we've got some questions that we want to address here with the last 8 or so minutes. So I'll pass it off to Kayla and Carla to go ahead and throw some of the questions either to TTC or back to me. And Carla and Kayla, you may be muted, so I just want to let you know.
Yes. If anyone has any questions, they can put them in the chat bar now. Or if you'd like to email me at carla.hartman@testingconsultancy.com, we can make sure that we get you in touch with the right people from TTC or qTest to answer any of your questions. Well, QA Symphony with qTest. So thank you all for your attendance today, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Have a good one.